Hey artists, in this video we're going to talk about our colored pencil blending art project where we're drawing orchid flowers. For this project, you might want to use some reference images with color from Google. There's lots of different colors and varieties of orchids, so choose one that really attracts your visual attention. I've also created a handout that you can use as a step-by-step guide for drawing the orchids. I start off by drawing a curved line, which is going to be my branch, and then I start adding squares so I know how big I want each orchid to be. I start off by drawing the side petals and the top petal of the orchid, and instead of focusing on just drawing one orchid completely, I'm going to work across the drawing and draw all three of the petals on each one of my squares. The bottoms of the orchids have two small petals. Then in the center, I'm going to start drawing the center detail. It looks kind of like an upside down U, question marks, and the side petals in the center kind of look like arms to me. And the detail that's underneath kind of reminds me of a mustache, so do your best to use the reference images to draw the orchid. I also draw some directional lines inside of the petals to add the veins later on. I started to draw with pencil the leaves, and I'm sorry that they were cut off by the video, but you should definitely add some very large leaves to the bottom of your orchid. This is when I started coloring with colored pencil. I thought some of my pencil lines were too dark, so I gently erased them, and then I started to outline all of my pencil lines with white. The reason why I wanted to erase it was so that way the pencil wasn't showing through as much, and the orchid flowers that I was using as my reference image were white, kind of like a peachy pink and a dark pink. So I lightly shaded the entire orchid flower with white. And then I went in with that sandy beige color and added a little bit more depth to each petal. Then I moved on and I started using the color Process Red to add more vein details and details into the center of the orchid. So as I was working around my drawing, I was trying to pay attention to each one of the orchids and not just focusing on one orchid at a time. So this way I was working across all three of my orchids in my drawing. I started by drawing all of the veins because the picture that I was using as a reference had lots of veins, and the color in the petal was darker closer to the center of the flower. I also went back in with the white to add more highlight and blend those colors together. Then I went back to the darker pink and I pressed a little bit harder to add more pressure for shading and value inside of the vein. I was reassessing my drawing and I decided to add some small buds, and then I started to color in the stem and the leaves. So as I was drawing the leaves, I started with the darker value of green and then I moved on to a medium value of green and gently shaded it in. As I was shading, I was not pressing too hard, but I was trying to go back and forth between the colored pencils to make things darker. So I went back to the darker green and then I went to the yellow green, which I think was called apple green, and I used that to add a little bit of highlight to each one of the leaves and the stem to give direction and light. Then I went back to the medium and the darker green again so that I could add more value to my leaves. And I'm really excited to see how you draw your orchid flower and what color variety you choose to draw in your artwork. When you are looking up close at your reference images, you're going to want to make sure that you do the best that you can to represent those petal details. And if you need to sharpen your colored pencil while you're working, please make sure that you're sharpening your pencil nicely because that will help you add all of those beautiful vein details in the middle of your flower. I'm very excited to see what you create.